Smartwatches seem to be enjoying a minor revival this year, what with major brands like Apple and Samsung continuing to push out intriguing new wearables like the Galaxy Watch and the Apple Watch Series 4. Google itself launched a redesign of Wear OS, and Qualcomm created a processor specifically for watches. The Snapdragon Wear 3100 is built around a new architecture featuring low-power cores that claim to deliver dramatically better battery life. The Fossil Sport is one of the first to launch with a new chipset. It's also the fashion company's first fitness-focused smartwatch. Since this is the first Wear 3100 watch we've got our hands on though, I'm more curious about whether the new CPU lives up to its promises. More important than the external hardware is that this is a showcase for Snapdragon Wear 3100. The chipset promises better performance and battery life by offering 3 new modes: Sport, Battery Saver, and Ambient. Sport mode promises up to 15 hours of continuous heart rate and GPS tracking, while Battery Saver only displays the time and the Fossil logo, but should give you a week of wear with just 20% of a charge. Ambient mode shows slightly more detail like a moving second hand and activity rings. Inexplicably, Sport mode is absent from the Fossil Sport and only available on select watches, which seems kind of strange for a device with Sport in its name. Despite the Wear 3100's new architecture, its performance on the Sport doesn't seem significantly better than the Wear 2100. So we're going to do a quick side-by-side performance comparison between the Fossil Sport, which has the Wear 3100, and the Fossil Q Venture HR, which uses the older Wear 2100. We're going to do a few things like use Assistant to send a text message and launch apps like the Play Store and Google Fit. What's the weather like in New York today? I mean, they're basically the same. And that's a problem because, like, it shouldn't be the same after so long. I've been using Fossil's Q Venture HR Gen 4 with the redesigned Wear OS and the older CPU under the hood for months, and frankly, I don't see any improvement. Sometimes Assistant's actually slower to interpret my commands than on the older watch. Text Edgar Alvarez. Google also said it will continue to roll out performance updates to the software over time, so perhaps we'll see more improvements. But for now, the Wear 3100 speed doesn't appear to be that much better than its predecessor, which is a shame considering we're expecting so much more. The difference between the battery saver modes on the older Wear OS watches and the new ones with Wear 3100 is that on the old ones, you could still use the smartwatch functions and see your notifications and whatnot, but the new version only has it acting as just a watch. It only shows the time. But the new version does offer a lot more battery in that mode, going for up to a month if you set it at the start of a full charge. Battery life is similarly disappointing. Fossil said the Sport should stick around for more than a day, but it never hung around for more than 18 hours. It lasted a few hours more than the older Fossil watch, but it still requires nightly charging. This one's dead. Meanwhile, this one I can just turn off like that. The Sport's battery saver mode does give me a whole lot more screen time though. I activated it at 9:30 p.m. when the watch was at 39%, and was happy to see that it was still alive the next morning, even hanging around until 12:15 p.m. At that time though, the battery was too weak for me to switch back to the full smartwatch mode. To be clear, 18 hours isn't terrible when you compare it to the Apple Watch Series 4, which lasts about as long. But other smartwatches like the Galaxy Watch and Fitbit Versa run for days before needing a charge. As far as fitness watches go, the Fossil Sport is one of the prettiest around. I love my review unit, which has a pink case and strap, but for real, I was torn between this and the version with a gold case and gray strap. With 6 case colors, 2 sizes, and 28 new straps, there's a ton of configurations to choose from, and you'll easily find one that suits your taste. It's noticeably lighter than other Fossil smartwatches thanks to its aluminum and nylon case, but thankfully it doesn't feel cheap. There's only one other watch packing the Wear 3100 right now, and that's the Montblanc Summit 2, which costs $1,000 and has a very different aesthetic. We haven't been able to test it yet, so I can't speak to its performance and battery life, but that's a ton of money. And if you're willing to drop $1,000 on a watch, you're probably not going to consider something as pedestrian as the Fossil Sport anyway. At $255, the Fossil Sport is one of the most affordable Wear OS watches available. The only notable option that's cheaper is the $200 TicWatch C2, which promises up to 2 days of battery life. But it uses Wear 2100 and might not see future performance updates. Ultimately, the Fossil Sport is a decent Wear OS watch, but it doesn't do enough to show off the potential of Snapdragon Wear 3100. It's a good-looking device that's not necessarily better than competitors using older hardware. Sure, it has some nifty tricks like ambient and battery-saving modes that make it less obtrusive and longer-lasting. But as the first of a new generation of smartwatches, the Fossil Sport is an underwhelming debut that doesn't live up to expectations.